Why Soldier Boy betrayed Sister Sage and made Homelander immortal. For most of The Boys Season 5, the story has been building toward one terrifying question. What happens if Homelander can never die? And Episode 6 may have just answered it. Because by the end of this episode, everything changes. Not just for Butcher, not just for the boys, but for the entire world of the show. Soldier Boy, the one person everyone thought would stop Homelander, completely changes sides in the final minutes and hands him the last vial of V1. And honestly, that moment was way deeper than people realize. At first, it looks like bad writing, like Soldier Boy suddenly forgot how much he hated Homelander, but when you really break down the episode, the clues were there the entire time. This wasn't about logic. It was about love, legacy, ego, regret, and fear of being forgotten. And the scariest part? Sister Sage, the smartest person alive, failed because she underestimated something completely human: emotion. So let's break down everything hidden inside The Boys Season 5, Episode 6, including why Soldier Boy betrayed Sage, whether Homelander is truly immortal now, what V1 actually does, and the massive theories this episode quietly sets up for the final episodes. Soldier Boy's decision was never really about Homelander. The biggest misunderstanding people are having right now is thinking Soldier Boy gave Homelander the V1 because he suddenly loves him again. That's not what happened. In reality, Soldier Boy's choice had almost nothing to do with Homelander. It was about Clara, Stormfront, the woman he truly loved. Throughout the episode, the boys repeatedly connect Soldier Boy's emotions to Clara. Every single mention of her changes his behavior. When Sage leaves the Stormfront tape for Soldier Boy to find, it completely destroys whatever small connection still existed between him and Homelander. Why? Because Soldier Boy realizes Homelander doesn't understand love the way he did. To Homelander, Stormfront was obsession, validation, power, worship. But to Soldier Boy, Clara was the only real emotional connection he ever had. That's why his line hits so hard when he says, open quote, "You don't deserve to live forever," close quote. That wasn't just anger. That was disappointment. Soldier Boy looked at Homelander and saw someone unworthy of the thing Clara valued most: power with purpose. But then Bombsight changes everything. Bombsight quietly became the most important character in the episode. Bombsight's introduction looked like setup for the Vought Rising spin-off, but narratively, he serves a much bigger role. He becomes the mirror Soldier Boy desperately needed. Both men are immortals. Both lost the people they loved. Both became trapped in time. And for the first time in decades, Soldier Boy speaks to someone who actually understands what immortality feels like. Not the fantasy, the reality. That field conversation between Soldier Boy and Bombsight is probably the most important scene in the episode, because it completely reframes Soldier Boy's mindset. Bombsight explains that immortality isn't power, it's loneliness. Watching everyone die, watching the world move on without you, becoming a ghost while still alive. That's why Golden Geisha's line matters so much. Open quote, "Summer is only beautiful because winter comes," close quote. That line is the entire theme of Episode 6. Death gives life meaning. And ironically, Homelander is the one character who can't understand that. Because Homelander doesn't value human connection. He values domination. That's why V1 is dangerous in his hands. Not because it makes him stronger physically, but because it removes the one thing that still psychologically haunted him: mortality. Why Soldier Boy really changed his mind. This is where the episode gets genius. At first, Soldier Boy is fully prepared to destroy the V1. That's exactly what Sister Sage predicted. And Sage's entire plan depended on one assumption: that Soldier Boy's hatred for Homelander was stronger than everything else. But Bombsight accidentally reminds Soldier Boy of something bigger: legacy. When Bombsight talks about Clara believing Soldier Boy was the ultimate soup, Soldier Boy realizes something painful. He failed her. He never became the thing she believed he could be. And in his mind, Homelander is that thing. Not morally, but evolutionarily, Homelander is stronger, more feared, more godlike. In Soldier Boy's eyes, Homelander became the final form of what soups were always becoming. That's why he says, open quote, "Clara was wrong. You are," close quote. That line isn't approval. It's surrender. Soldier Boy basically accepts that Homelander surpassed him. And because Clara would have wanted that power preserved, Soldier Boy chooses legacy over revenge. That's why Sage loses. Not because her intelligence failed, but because human emotion broke her calculations. Sister Sage's biggest weakness finally got exposed. This episode quietly reveals something terrifying about Sage. She understands humanity intellectually, but not emotionally. She can predict behavior patterns, political systems, statistics, outcomes, but she struggles with irrational emotional choices. And Soldier Boy's final decision is irrational. Logically, he should destroy the V1. Emotionally, he can't, because Bombsight awakens something Sage overlooked: love mixed with regret. That's why Sage looked genuinely shocked at the end. For once, she didn't see the ending coming. And honestly, that might make her more dangerous moving forward, because now she understands her blind spot. Is Homelander actually immortal now? Probably, but not in the way people think. The episode clearly implies the V1 injection succeeded, his eyes pulsing, the energy surges, the unstable laser bursts. Those aren't signs of rejection. Those are signs of transformation. However, I don't think Homelander becomes perfectly immortal. I think V1 amplifies what already exists inside the person taking it, and that could become horrifying for Homelander, because mentally, he's collapsing. This season keeps showing Homelander losing emotional stability, killing Firecracker impulsively, nearly murdering Ryan, obsessing over love and worship, panicking about aging, feeling abandoned by everyone at Fibrinam. Now imagine all of that amplified by V1. Immortality may not stabilize him. It may evolve him into something uncontrollable, almost radioactive. There's a reason the episode ends with Butcher saying, open quote, run, close quote, not fight, not shoot him, run. Because even Butcher realizes Homelander may have crossed into something beyond killable. The hidden theory: what if V1 is slowly corrupting Homelander? There's a detail people are overlooking. The V1 test subjects all died horribly, which means the serum is unstable. But Homelander surviving doesn't automatically mean he's safe. It may mean his body can withstand the transformation, while his mind cannot. Notice how violent the reaction is after injection. His laser vision becomes uncontrollable. His body spasms. He screams in agony. That doesn't feel like a clean evolution. It feels like mutation. And there's another huge clue. The show keeps bringing up Soldier Boy's depowering blast. That power still exists, meaning Homelander becoming immortal may only set up a more tragic ending later, because the cruelest punishment for Homelander isn't death, it's humanity. If Soldier Boy eventually removes Homelander's powers permanently, Homelander would become exactly what he fears most: ordinary, weak, mortal. And honestly, that feels way more like the boys than simply killing him. Did Soldier Boy already use V1 before? There's actually a strong theory hidden in the episode. Bombsight mentions that multiple early soups received V1 during the original experiments. That likely includes Soldier Boy, which may explain several things: why Soldier Boy ages slower than normal soups, why his durability exceeds almost everyone, why his radiation blast evolved after Russian experimentation, why he survived conditions that should have killed him. It's possible Soldier Boy was already partially enhanced by an early version of V1 decades ago. And if that's true, Homelander may become something even stronger because his body already contains perfected compound V, meaning V1 plus Homelander could create the first truly unstoppable soup. Why Homelander's victory might actually be his downfall. This is the most important theory moving forward. The episode frames immortality as a curse repeatedly. Golden Geisha rejects it. Bombsight wants to lose it. Kimiko fears it. Starlight refuses it. Every emotionally healthy character rejects eternal life. Only Homelander desperately wants it. Why? Because Homelander fears death more than anyone. Not physical pain, irrelevance, being forgotten. And that's exactly why immortality may destroy him psychologically. Because eventually, everyone leaves. Ryan, the Seven, followers, humanity itself. Immortality traps Homelander in endless isolation, the very thing he's emotionally incapable of surviving. So while this ending looks like Homelander won, the episode may actually be setting up the beginning of his punishment. The Deep story quietly mirrors Homelander. One underrated part of episode 6 is how the Deep's breakdown parallels Homelander. The Deep betrays the ocean for survival and immediately loses the only thing that ever gave him identity. The fish reject him. Black Noir dies. Homelander abandons him emotionally. Now he belongs nowhere. That's exactly where Homelander is heading to. Absolute power. Absolute loneliness. The Deep is basically a smaller version of Homelander's future. Starlight's conversation reveals the final theme of the show. The quiet scene between Annie and Huey may actually explain the ending of the entire series. Annie doesn't want immortality, not because she fears death, because she values human connection more than survival. That's the final contrast of the boys. Homelander wants eternity without love. Annie chooses love even if it ends painfully. One path creates monsters. The other preserves humanity. That's why the show keeps returning to relationships instead of powers. The real battle was never about strength. It's about what makes life worth living. I had a final theory. Homelander may become too powerful for Sage to control. This is the scariest possibility. Sage's entire plan depended on controlling events around Homelander. But if V1 truly transformed him, he may become impossible to manipulate. And that creates a terrifying final setup. Sister Sage wants apocalypse, Butcher wants genocide, Soldier Boy wants legacy, Homelander wants worship. All four goals now collide. And the most unstable person in the middle of it all is Homelander himself, which means the ending of The Boys may no longer be about stopping him, but surviving what he becomes. Because episode 6 didn't just make Homelander stronger, it may have finally turned him into the thing he always believed he was, a god.